Good morning.
Good morning.
So I want to start out. I want to introduce myself because there's many people on the list that I actually don't think that we've met in the past. So I'm Ron Mulvaney, and I work here in the Maplewood lab, and I'm the materials testing engineer. I took over for Chris Kuffner in November, and then he took over for Jim Cusick in approximately August after Jim had been here for many years in this role. And one of the tasks that I have is the implementation of the AASHTOWare project into the materials module. So I also wanted to give you a little background about how this meeting came about. We started out, or I should say Dina Bushin and Maria Maston got together and started talking about how can we educate all the people that are involved with the current project, and that including myself. There's been a lot of turnover there. Like I mentioned previously, Jim Cusick retired, and I took over for him, and we're in charge of the implementation for materials. Dave Johnson was the project manager for Minute, and he retired, and for a short time there was Maya in there, and then Karen Scott has ultimately taken over as the project manager. Rick Beckus was in OCIC and was involved with early on, and he's retired. And then there's Steve Kordosky, who worked in construction, and he's retired. And there's a whole host of people that also kind of joined on. There's Charlie Groshin and Todd Berglund, both very knowledgeable in AASHTOWare, but not as familiar with the materials module. And then Nicole Madison has come on to help us with the implementation. So there's a lot of new people there. And from that, what we came up with was a 30 to 40 person refresher, we'll call it, that somehow grew into a send out list of 430 people on the Zoom meeting. So it's grown quite a bit, but that was the basis of that. One of the things I want to address that's been going around MnDOT is that it's been taking an extremely long time for us to implement this software. And why has that been taking so long? And to put it very simply, is because this is very complicated. This isn't just simply taking data and sticking it into a new package. There's a lot of decisions and a lot of discussion and things to make it fit into AASHTOWare. The other thing is, just like I mentioned before, there's been a lot of changeover. But one of the biggest things that's really kind of slowed us down here is we're one of the only sections that's actually had to go through shutting down the existing system in the Lab Vantage LIM system, implementing a temporary system with spreadsheets and databases, and the same time working on the implementation for the AASHTOWare. The other thing is that here early on, MnDOT decided that they were going to implement the Cadillac of agency views and reports. Now that's what we were used to in the LIM system, and we could have gone with some of the more basic things, but I think they made the right decision to set it up right from the very beginning. I want you all to be aware, and I don't want to take anyone's thunder going forward here, but the LIM system took quite a long time to get involved, somewhere around 9 years plus. And then after the 9 years, it was worked on until 2018 to make it the way that we had it. So historically, it's taken a long time, and we're seeing kind of the same thing here with the AASHTOWare project. The other thing from the standpoint of the materials office here is we only have so many key material experts, and they only have what I like to call bandwidth, and that's their ability to take on work. So their sole responsibility is not to implement AASHTOWare. They have to do their regular jobs also along with the implementation. And when you do a system like that, there's lots and lots of testing that goes on. So you have to spend a lot of time working with the developers and talking about the specifications. Then they develop it, then it has to be tested. We have new versions of the software that have to come on. So there's a lot of testing going on here. We've also had some people just plain quit on us that have left us shorthanded. And it's just a lot of things there. And also in the middle of this, we had our AASHTO certification going on. So along with trying to get the AASHTOWare project involved, we're trying to get our labs certified. So lots and lots of things going on here. The one thing I do want to caution you about going forward is that some of our specifications in our schedule and materials control cannot directly go into AASHTOWare project. We have to actually go ahead and possibly rewrite some of these specifications and the schedule and materials control so that they actually fit into AASHTOWare. So there's some pretty complicated things going forward here. As we do go and move into AASHTOWare, and those of you that will be actually using it, I want you to be aware that when you start to use it, it's going to actually take longer than you're used to with limbs. It's going to take you longer to put the headers in, it's going to take you longer to put the data in, and it's going to take longer to get the report generated. But the good news of all this is when we finally get all of this put together, I think you're actually going to see that the program works very well. It's actually going to be a shorter time frame as we go into this real-time implementation. It's going to be beneficial for both construction and materials, and it really should go faster. I really want to reiterate the three things that I sent out, and I hope that you take away from this class is that you get some kind of background about AASHTOWare, what it is, what we're doing with it, and potentially what we're going to do going forward. And I want you to understand how we are using it, how materials and construction are using it, how we're going to use it in the future. And finally, for those of you that will be getting involved in the next phases of it, that you got a good start on to what it takes to make the integration between construction and materials move forward. With that, I want to thank you for attending, but I really want to thank all of you that have been involved from the start with the shutdown of the LIMS program and all the work that you've done so far. It really has been a monumental task. And from that, I just want to turn it back to Gina.